In this video, I'm going to show you a quick way to create a child version of an adult character. So let's get started. Here we are in Cartoon Animator, and I'm just going to put an actor on the stage, and I'm going to use this Martha character. I'm going to use the 3/4 view because that's the most versatile view for animating with, but you could also do this with the front view if you wanted to as well. Let's say you wanted to create a younger version of her, say more of a teen version or child version of her. The initial thought to do is simply just to make a smaller version of the character. So we just go duplicate, move the character over, and then just resize her smaller. But that doesn't really work because it just looks like a shrunk human more than an actual child. And the reason that is because children have different body proportions to adults. In particular, you'll notice that children's heads appear bigger. I found this really good article on how to draw children by Gomes Cabral. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name properly. Fairly well-known illustrator. He has this series on drawing cartoons, and one of these articles is drawing children. And I wanted to focus on this particular image here, which shows you the relationship between a child's body and an adult's body. So we've got a younger child here, maybe sort of 7 to 9, 7 to 10, and we've got a teenager here, and then we've got an adult here. And if you look at this and just do a comparison, you can see the head size actually doesn't change a whole lot here. The head on this character is maybe a touch bigger than those two, but because of the smaller body size being sort of half the size, that tends to visually make the head look bigger as well. Bit of an illusion that it's bigger. But you also notice things like the legs are half the length and the arms are half the length. And that's why when we do this, shrink the character down like this, it doesn't really look like a child, it's more of just a shrunk person. So in order to make this look more like an actual cartoon child, I'm going to duplicate this character again and we'll move her over here. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to flip this over, and I'm also going to bring the camera in a bit so we can see this better, more into the middle of the screen. So there are some differences. As you can see, this is more obvious now that this looks just like a shrunk person rather than a child. And if we just go quickly back to Carlos's article here, it does have some other things to notice, like children generally have larger foreheads and a bigger head, and things like smaller chins. We're not going to go into modifying the faces too much, but if you're designing a child character, these are some things to take into account. So he's got bigger foreheads. They also usually have larger eyes. The larger eyes tend to make the character gives them more of a cute feeling. That's what sort of attracts you to children as being cute, is partially the larger eyes, and usually have the smaller nose, larger ears, and the ears are usually set lower down on the side of the head. Also got the giant hair, which is obviously partly a result of having a big forehead, and we're going on into babies and stuff like that. Something else down here he notes is that boys tend to wear big shoes, whereas female children tend to have smaller feet. We're going to go back to Cartoon Animator, and we're going to take this character here into the composer, and I'm going to show you a quick way to make that character look more childlike and more believable as a child. So the first thing you want to do if you're in the composer is reduce the bone size down. Often the bone size up here is set to 40. I find it's easier if you change the default down to 20, so these aren't so big. And I have set percentages for reducing characters' body parts, and in order to do it, that should get you reasonable results. So firstly, you want to start with the hip and torso, and we want to go into edit pose, otherwise we won't be able to change these at all. And we want to change the width and the height, and we want to keep these linked, so I'm going to click the linked button here. So the first thing we're going to do, change the width down to 30, reduce the size of the torso. Hit 30 and then hit enter. Because this is linked, that one will be changed to 30 as well. So there we go. Immediately sort of reduced her down, not quite half, but just over half the size. The next thing we're going to do is reduce her legs, and you want to go up with the top part of her leg, not the bottom part. The way the bone hierarchy works, if you reduce the parent bone, then all the bones below that will also get reduced. So if I change the size of this leg, you'll see if I do it manually, you'll see all the other bones below it are getting reduced as well. So we want to do the upper thigh, and we want to change this to 20. We're going to do 20, hit enter. We're going to do the same on the other leg. Click here and change that to 20, hit enter. And you can see that's looking quite weird at the moment, but we'll fix it up. We go. Next thing we want to do is the arms. You'd think you'd want to reduce them the same, but we're going to make them slightly longer, so we're going to go 25 rather than 20. So 25, enter. And again, use the top of the arm, the upper arm, not the lower arm. 25. The next thing we want to do is make feet slightly larger. I know I just said in Carlos's article, girls tend to have smaller feet, but children in general, their hands and feet, as they grow, tend to be a bit larger. They sort of grow at a quicker rate than the length of their legs and arms. They tend to look slightly bigger than they should do. So when we're changing the feet, we want to select the right foot bone, which is the top of the ankle bone. Don't select any of the lower bones. So if I zoom in on this, so that you can see what I'm doing properly. So we want to select this bone here that's right on the ankle, and we're going to now change that back to 30. And we're going to do the same with the other one, change that to 30. Then we're going to change the hands, and we want to change the hands by selecting the wrist bone, and we want them at 25, so they're already at 25. Good, so I'll leave them there. You could make them a bit larger if you wanted to, so if you sort of felt they were looking a bit small, so I could even try them at 30, see what that looks like. Probably a bit big for a female hand, so we could go maybe 28. All of these numbers are just sort of suggestions. You want to look and visually see if it looks right or if it looks weird. Go 28 for that. Make this one 28 as well. And finally, we want to adjust the head size to make it bigger. And when you're selecting the head, you want to change the composer into face mode. You'll see up here we're currently in body mode. I want to switch that to face, and that'll bring up the face selection box, which will enlarge everything on here, and we want to change that up to about 45. That, and hit enter. Right away, like that looks a bit funny just on its own. It seems like she's got too large a head. Now if you think it does look a little too large, you could shrink it down a bit. We could select her face again, maybe try it at 40. I think 40 is actually better for that. And the last thing we want to do, or second last, because we've made the head larger and shrunk the body, it's a good idea just to lower the head down on the neck a bit so she doesn't have quite as long a neck. Children's necks tend to be a bit shorter anyway. And to do that, you just need to make sure you've got the head selected, and with using the Y coordinate here, do the bottom one, move it down maybe 1 or 2 clicks. Go maybe about there, that's 1 click down. Finally, we want to change back to the body, and we want to select the hip, tool selected, and I'm just going to zoom out with the camera. What we want to do now is lower the whole character so that she's down on the world axis here where the root bone is. Otherwise, when you apply motions to this character, if you don't do this step, it'll look like she's either floating through the air, or you'll have problems lining up her motions with other characters if you're doing 2 motions that are supposed to match up with each other. So with the hip selected, just use the Y coordinate to move her down till her back foot is touching the red line of the world axis. Is that red and blue cross you can see there, and the root bone is right in the middle there. Now we can zoom in a bit, and we can get out of edit pose, and we can do preview and see how things work. See, that's all fine. You may have to adjust the bones a little bit on some characters depending on how well made they actually are and whether their bones and stuff line up. But this one's looking pretty good. Doesn't look like we've broken her in any way just from doing that. We're going to stop previewing and get out of the composer. And there you go. Now I would say that that character compared compared to her is probably a bit short for the age she is. So if you wanted to make her a bit larger but keep those proportions, you could take her back into the composer, and again I'm going to go adjust the hip, edit pose, and then bring her up just a little bit more and move her whole body up so that her feet are again in line with the world axis. And then we're going to adjust her face. And I'm going to just manually adjust it till I'm sort of happy with where I think it should be. Think about there, that's about 55 on the world axis. Get out of edit pose. And go back to the stage, and maybe her head's just a little bit too large. And I think that's about right there. It's sort of, it looks large enough. It's a little bit bigger than her head, which is about right. If you compare it to Carlos's article down here, where you'll notice this boy's head is a little bigger than the adult, teenager and adult heads, so that sort of track. There you go. I hope that looks more like a younger version of this character than just simply sort of adjusting the size of the character like we did with this one. Obviously this won't work with all characters, especially perhaps female characters with very shapely bodies. They might not sort of be convincing as a very young child with a still very adult shaped body, but someone like Martha, who's sort of hiding her curves fairly well in this outfit, it works quite okay, and she could easily be like 12, 13 years old in that sort of body there. I want to see these in action. Go in and we'll do apply some animation. Go to one of the perform actions, maybe this gossip motion here.
Oh my goodness! You don't say!
So it all still works fine. So that's that. There you go. I hope you found this demonstration useful. You'll have varying results depending on what kind of character you're trying to de-age and turn into a child, but it just gives you another option for getting more use out of your characters than you perhaps previously thought. That's it for this demo and this video, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.